Hello, my name is Andrea Funtila, and we will be discussing today our initial findings from the Brain, Genes, and Puberty Study, or BGAP study. This study investigates brain and behavior in boys and teens with Klinefelter syndrome. And today, we will specifically focus on the social and emotional function in this group. And before we start, I really want to address risk and destiny and their differences. In this talk, we will be referring to risk associated with Klinefelter syndrome or 47XXY genotype. Risk is related to altered probability of an outcome or a range of outcomes. For example, there could be differences with height, fertility, or attention problems. It's really important to note that risk is not equivalent to destiny, where destiny is a particular outcome that is controlled or determined by a biological factor. It is rarely observed in human genetic conditions. And here we have a slide of the common physical traits that can be seen or associated with KS, such as tall stature, testicular failure, reduced testosterone, impaired spermatogenesis, gynecomastia, and delayed or incomplete puberty. One may experience all of these traits or very few. And currently, testosterone supplementation is the standard of care, with it usually starting in late adolescence. As for behavioral traits, it has been seen that there are increased symptoms of anxiety and depression. The data suggests that more men with KS may experience significant symptoms of depression and anxiety in comparison to men in the general population. There may also be difficulties in social functioning, such as increased shyness, reduced social assertiveness, difficulties in peer relationships, social impulsivity, and diminished self-esteem. It's been found that males with KS may also meet the diagnostic criteria for autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, higher than the general population. And here are some questions that we are attempting to answer here at the BGAP study, and I'll just go over each one with you. How does social and emotional development differ in males with KS? Does testosterone play a role in these differences? What areas of the brain contribute to behavioral differences in KS? And today we will specifically be discussing the findings from the first question. And we have enrolled a total of 73 males with KS and 69 typically developing age-matched control males. And all of these participants are currently between the age of 8 through 17 years old. And this is just a map of our study, as it is a multi-site project conducted in collaboration with Dr. Judy Ross, who's located at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia and Nemours Children's Hospital in Delaware. And here today, we have the team from Stanford Medicine located in California. As part of our study, we had boys and teens complete surveys to self-report their measures of anxiety, depression, and behavior, as well as the parents would also complete these surveys that assess the social functioning and behavior in their son. And currently, what we present today reflects our initial analysis of 52 boys and teens with KS from the ages of 8 through 13 and 62 typically developing boys.
Great, and I will take it from here. So my name is Laura Foland-Ross, and I am a senior research associate and neuroscientist working on this project. Okay, so here we're showing you findings from our parent report measures. So here on the left are scores from the SRS-2, which is a parental measure using the social responsiveness scale. And what we can see here is that parents rate their sons as having significantly greater social impairment in the KS group compared to parents of boys in the typically developing group. One thing to know about these scores is that 59 and under is considered within the average range. And so that, in addition to the higher variance that we see in the KS group, you can see that many of our boys, or a portion of, do experience clinically significant social impairment as indicated by these higher bars in the KS group. We also see this pattern when we look at the behavioral assessment system for children. This is the BASC-3 parental report scale. And we see that parents of boys with KS also rate their sons as having significantly greater social withdrawal compared to parents of boys in the typically developing group. So when we look at these measures in the self-report, we see that boys with KS show a similar pattern of difference. So in this subscale, it's important to know that lower scores indicate greater difficulty with personal adjustment. Here, personal adjustment is defined as quality of interpersonal relationships with peers and parents, as well as self-esteem. And so boys with KS are reporting significantly greater difficulty in this area of life compared to their typically developing peers. So in this slide, what we're showing you are results from our parent report measures of anxiety and depressive symptoms. And here on the left, you can see that parents of boys with KS rate their sons as experiencing significantly greater symptoms of depression than do parents of typically developing boys. Again, here, while you can see that the mean is within the average range of symptoms in this domain, so 59 and lower is considered average. We see that a portion of parents in this group do rate their sons as having clinically significant symptoms in this domain. This increase is significantly greater, as you can see from the peak described by parents of boys in the typically developing group. And we see a similar pattern with respect to symptoms of anxiety, with parents reporting significantly greater symptoms in their sons with KS compared to parents of typically developing boys. And this again is mirrored by self-report. So when we ask the boys and teens in our study directly, we see that adolescents with KS report significantly greater symptoms of depression, as indicated by the Children's Depressive Inventory. Likewise, with anxiety, we see the multidimensional anxiety scale for children scores are significantly higher in males with KS compared to typically developing males. We then looked to see whether these symptoms might be increased in boys who were older. So keep in mind that this is a cross-sectional study. What we did here is we divided boys in each of the two groups, KS and typically developing, into boys that had not yet started puberty and boys that already had started puberty. And what we saw in this analysis is that in the KS group, but not the typically developing group, there was a significant increase in depression symptoms in males that were pubertal compared to boys that had not yet started puberty. So you can see that increase in the ineffectiveness subscale, as well as the negative self-esteem subscale. And these reflect measures of feeling capable in school and in everyday life and having positive self-esteem. So these symptoms appear to get worse over time, although we are actively looking at this in longitudinal analyses in our cohorts.
Okay, well, I want to thank Andrea and Lara for terrific presentations. My name is Alan Reiss. I'm a physician scientist and professor at Stanford University School of Medicine. And it's been really an honor to lead this study on the Stanford side and work with Judy Ross on the East Coast, because we both felt that this was a really, really important area to generate new data for, and that would have hopefully clinical relevance. So what are the take-home messages here? First of all, social emotional challenges in children with KS are common, and they occur with higher frequency and probably higher severity compared to gender and age-matched children who don't have KS. And these symptoms and problems have the potential to adversely affect self-image or self-esteem, academic performance and behavior at school, behavior at home, to affect the family dynamics and relationships and peer interaction. For families that have boys and teens with KS who are concerned about social emotional symptoms and function, these symptoms should be assessed and addressed by a well-qualified professional. who has experience in assessing children and teens with mental health concerns, and of course, optimally in working with children who have X and Y variations and their families. The types of interventions that I myself provide or work with others to provide include optimal classroom placement or more optimal classroom placement, and or supports and accommodations, individual and family therapy, enhanced opportunities for successful social engagement, something formal like social skills groups, or even informal clubs, sports, and so forth that are supported well by the leaders, and sometimes medication as well. I think our findings so far at the single time point, although as both Laura and Andrea mentioned, that we are now in the midst of analyzing the data in these same boys over a second time point, and sometimes even a third, emphasize the importance of providing boys with this condition appropriate opportunities, resources, and interventions. Now, whether KS-associated declines in testosterone are associated with poor function in specific behavioral domains is unknown at present, but will be addressed in these longitudinal analyses. And analysis of the neural basis, the brain basis of these behaviors, are also in progress, and we hope to put into perspective and clarity a broader understanding of how brain, behavior, environment, and genetics all work together. Next slide. And for all those families that participated in our study, we want to give a absolutely enthusiastic thank you. The families have been wonderful, even coming to see us or participating in the project in the midst of the pandemic. We had to pivot really quite quickly when the pandemic started to doing more online assessments, but now, of course, we're back to the in-person as well. So thank you so much. We are bringing this study to a conclusion over the next few months, but we have put in a grant to the National Institutes of Health to continue it for another 5 years. So cross your fingers for us. And if you are interested in participating in the future, please take a snapshot here, and you'll be led to our website where you can enter your information.